Jon Stewart is back. Now, you may be saying to yourself, isn't Jon Stewart really old? And you would be correct. Jon Stewart is now 61 years old. Jon Stewart is 6 years younger than my father. Jon Stewart is like a decade older than Nikki Haley and 2 decades older than Ron DeSantis. Jon Stewart is, in fact, a senior citizen. Okay, and that guy, they're rolling him back out as though he's the voice of a generation over at The Daily Show, because The Daily Show has been a crap show ever since Jon Stewart left. Now, there's something to point out here. One, they're rolling Jon Stewart out as though he's a trustworthy source. He's had a show on Apple TV for the last year, and it's like literally one of the worst things. It's just an awful, awful show. And one of the reasons it's a really awful show is because he doesn't have as good comedy writers. So, first of all, Comedy Central was a comedy. It was a Comedy Central, right? It was a comedy network. And because it was a comedy network, that meant that he had joke writers. But his new show is not his old show. On Apple TV, he actually tries to understand issues, and it doesn't go well for him because he just doesn't understand issues. He's not somebody who spent his life in politics. Jon Stewart's entire routine, for literally his entire career, has been what we used to call clown nose on, clown nose off. And that was, when you critique his politics, he would put on the clown nose and go, I'm just a comedian. You expect a comedian to know anything? I'm just a comedian. I don't know anything. Look at these idiot politicians expecting me to know. I'm a comedian. And then, the minute that he would question somebody, it would be clown nose off. I have a very serious question for you. Is it not a comedic question? A very serious question for you. And it was really obnoxious and really ugly. But I want to be clear about something. Jon Stewart, as a singular media figure, did more over the course of the first decade of the 21st century to destroy actual political media in this country more than anyone else. More than anyone else. There used to be a time in this country, it was funny, earlier this week, Lex Friedman, who's a wonderful guy, released a debate that I did with a streamer called Destiny. I talked about it on the show a little bit earlier, Stephen Bonnell. Stephen's a perfectly nice fellow. He's on the left. We had a really good, interesting discussion for like 2.5 hours. And it was just us going back and forth on the issues, really sticking to the issues. And it was conciliatory in mood, but very different in terms of our politics, obviously. And most of the comments online were things like, it's just great that people can have a discussion anymore. You want to know who ended the discussion? It was Jon Stewart. It really was. I don't know who recalls this because now an entire generation has passed. This kind of stuff makes me feel old because I remember when it happened live. I was 20 when it happened. And Jon Stewart in 2004 was during the 2004 race between George W. Bush and John Kerry. And Jon Stewart went on a show that was known as Crossfire. For those who don't remember kind of media history, Crossfire was a show on CNN that starred Tucker Carlson in a much earlier iteration of Tucker Carlson. This is Bowtie Tucker Carlson versus Paul Begala, who was a Democratic consultant originally for Bill Clinton. And they would basically get on the air and they would debate issues every day. And Jon Stewart, who was a comedian playing the clown nose on, clown nose off routine, he goes on CNN and he then proceeds to say that these two are ruining the country for having what was effectively a civil debate about the issues. They were ruining the country. And here is Jon Stewart wrecking Crossfire. Again, that was a place where people just had a discussion from different sides of the aisle. You can't see a show like this anymore. There used to be lots of shows like this. There's a show on Fox. It used to be called Hannity and Combs, right? Like a generation ago, Alan Combs dropped off. Now it's just Sean Hannity. There used to be shows on the air all the time in which you'd have a member of the right and a member of the left. They would debate. And believe it or not, when Joe Scarborough's Morning Joe started, Joe Scarborough was more of a Republican and Mika Brzezinski was more of a Democrat, and it used to be more like that. That has completely disappeared in the modern media landscape. Why? It's because of what Jon Stewart did here. What he did is he lied. He said that a partisan disagreement is inherently bad and that it makes the country worse. That when people air their disagreements in public with one another and they argue back and forth, that this rips apart the country. It's precisely the opposite. It's when jackasses like Jon Stewart mug for the camera after showing a clip out of context that the country gets worse. Instead of actually having to know anything, the entire game becomes show a clip of somebody doing a dumb thing and then go. That was Jon Stewart's entire shtick for like 20 years. And that's substituted for actual political conversation. It's substituted for actual political debate. Nobody got smarter watching Jon Stewart. In fact, he got significantly dumber watching Jon Stewart's show because his entire shtick was basically a Twitter dunk. He was Twitter dunks before Twitter dunks were a thing. Here is a great New Year's resolution you can actually keep. Whether you have 3 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes, keep your face wrinkle-free with Genucell. Introducing Gen 90, the new instant wrinkle treatment from Genucell. Gen 90 instantly reduces the appearance of wrinkles anywhere you use it, from around your eyes, forehead, crow's feet, laugh lines. It starts working in seconds. Genucell says their Gen 90 is 2 generations better than any immediate effects product and years ahead of the skincare market. The technology is luxurious, nourishing, and silk smooth. The results are game changers for you or your money back. So, What exactly are you waiting for? Make your fine lines and wrinkles disappear with Genucell. Right now, my listeners will get not only over 70% off Genucell's most popular package, but also free shipping. Head on over to Genucell.com/Ben. Secure your Gen 90 product before they sell out. That's Genucell.com/Ben. Today, they make great product. My family's been using Genucell products for like a decade at this point. They're awesome. Head on over to Genucell.com/Ben. That's Genucell.com/Ben. Secure your Gen 90 product before they sell out today. Here was Jon Stewart going after Tucker Carlson and Paul Begala. And basically because of this, again, the notion of like a civil debate between competing sides of the aisle, which goes all the way back to shows like Firing Line in the late 60s, early 70s. It'd be debates with between like William F. Buckley and John Kenneth Galbraith. Right? It used to be people showing up on the show to debate each other, and it would be people like Malcolm Muggeridge and Bob Woodward. Or Noam Chomsky would show up, and he would be debating somebody like Henry Kissinger, right? That kind of stuff happened on TV. It used to actually be an intelligent country, this country. And then Jon Stewart came along. And again, it's not as though we were at the peak of television politics. And Firing Line was a significantly better show than Crossfire, because William F. Buckley was frankly much more intelligent than anyone in politics for a very long time. But Jon Stewart ripping down Crossfire was, in fact, one of the signal media moments in American history. Here it was.
I made a special effort to come on the show today because I have privately amongst my friends and also in occasional newspapers and television shows mentioned this show as being bad. And I felt that wasn't fair, and I should come here and tell you that it's not so much that it's bad as it's hurting America. So I wanted to come here today and say,
wait.
Here's just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop hurting America.
Okay, now
and come work for us, because we, as the people.
How do you pay?
The people, not well.
Better than CNN, I'm sure.
But you can sleep at night. See, the thing is, we need your help. Right now you're helping the politicians and the corporations, and we're left out there to mow our lawns.
You just said we're too rough on them when they make mistakes.
No, you're not too rough on them. You're part of their strategies. You're partisan, hacks. You're doing theater when you should be doing debate, which would be great.
No, it's
not honest. What you do is not honest. What you do is partisan hackery.
Okay, so again, he's the one being dishonest. Right? How do you say, I need you to help the country? Right? I mean, this is a demagogic argument in the disguise of comedy, which is what Jon Stewart did better than literally anyone. Very talented at it. Not going to pretend he's not talented. He was super talented at it. But what he is doing in that particular clip is really dishonest. What he is saying is that you guys, you're helping the politicians because instead of just having a debate, you're actually helping the politicians by being partisan hacks. Well, what you are basically saying is that one side deserves defense and the other side deserves mockery, which was actually Jon Stewart's model. And then when he called upon, he said, well, I'm just a comedian. So now they're bringing him back from the dead. And they're going to have him on, I guess, once a week on Mondays to talk about the election and make the country worse again. But I think it is worthwhile to point out that nearly all political commentary on cable TV has now become Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart turned everybody into Jon Stewart. Virtually every mainstream political commentator on TV now does this model. Of what it looks much, if you pick up a show on CNN, MSNBC, or even Fox News right now, if you watch those shows, you're very unlikely to see in-depth political commentary. What you're much more likely to see is somebody doing a quasi-comedic monologue with a pick and pick where somebody makes a face. That everyone turned to Jon Stewart because of Jon Stewart. Did our politics get better or worse? It turns out that mockery is really bad for politics. Sometimes mockery is deserved and mockery is funny, and we do some of it on the show. What we also try to do is actually go through the issues in depth. Jon Stewart never tried to do that, but he was really successful at not doing that. Faux ignorance, it turns out, is really a successful strategy. Being an ignoramus for pay is a great strategy in the modern media. All you do is say, I don't even know what's going on, man. I don't even know what's going on. All I know is that. That was Jon Stewart's entire model. And you know what? It became all of politics. And that was not good for American politics. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.